Glue is a valuable option when using EponaShoes. Gluing allows you to avoid nail damage to the walls, and the glue spreads the load evenly around the hoof capsule, making the shoe act as a hoof extension. The use of glue allows the repair of compromised hoof capsules, gives you more options when placing the shoe, and fills gaps in cases where the hoof cannot be trimmed flat. The adhesives we recommend will flex with the hoof wall and the EponaShoe. We've documented that hooves using glued-on EponaShoes do well over the long term. Several horses in our test herd have had EponaShoes glued on year-round for over 12 years. We've come to believe that methacrylate adhesives bond better than those that are polyurethane-based. We also want an adhesive that retains some flexibility after it cures. If the material becomes too hard and brittle, the bond will be more easily broken. These are our recommended adhesives. We'll use Equibond in this video. Temperature affects set time. Warmer goes faster. Try to keep glue and shoes at room temperature. Glue works best when it's about 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. During the winter, you can put the glue in a bucket of warm water or use a heating pad about 30 minutes ahead of time. In the summer, keep the glue cool by keeping it inside or in the shade. Inexpensive units like this can either heat or cool as required to keep the glue within a few degrees of its optimal temperature. This one can plug into a cigarette lighter for use in a vehicle. When using a new tube of glue, turn the valve 90 degrees to open it. Squeeze out a bit of glue to make sure both parts are flowing. There will be more brown than white. In the case of a previously used tube, clean the tip of any solidified glue and squeeze out a small portion to make sure both adhesive components are flowing. If warm, dispense quickly. If you're too slow, the glue will start to set before you even get to the hoof. If the glue and shoe are cold, you can take more time. At this point, the layer of glue should be thick with a height of around 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. The best way to get an even glue layer is to dispense an even amount of glue around the shoe, unless you know you want more at the heels or at the toe, etc. Position the shoe quickly and stop moving the shoe as quickly as possible so that the adhesive can get a strong bond. Try to use only one finger to smear the glue. Keep the other hand clean for holding the leg. The time that the foot needs to be held up varies from about 90 seconds to 3 minutes, depending on the temperature. The warmer the glue is, the faster it will cure. If you intend to add some nails, it can be helpful to clean out nail holes with a nail before the glue sets. We've heard various advice related to gluing. For example, that a certain solvent or cleaner applied to the hoof will help with the bond. But we haven't found anything that definitively helps. We find the best thing is a light rasp just prior to gluing. And while it's a reasonable idea to use spacers set on the shoe to ensure an even glue layer, in our attempts we have not found that to be helpful. Sometimes it's suggested to wrap the foot in plastic wrap as the glue cures, but we've found no benefit from that technique either. We remain open-minded and are willing to reconsider these and other tricks, but for now we say, keep it simple. Before setting the hoof down, feel for the heat that the glue puts off as it cures. Once this heat is gone, the glue has finished setting. Also, press your thumbnail into the glue. If you can't make a mark, the glue has finished setting. Be sure to set the hoof down gently. If the horse slams its foot down, the bond can be compromised. Rasp excess glue off the hoof wall. We prefer a thin glue line with no adhesive on the outer hoof wall. Note that here we're ensuring that the shoe is fit tight to the hoof. No need to leave the shoe wider than the hoof if you followed our basic trim guidelines and used our packing. Note that the bevel can also be further adjusted at this time. For most horses, this is the correct look as seen from the heel. The EponaShoe's built-in blue pad is in direct contact with the frog. You should only leave a gap in special cases in which you intentionally wish to unload the frog. Sometimes a hoof coming out of a metal rim shoe may have a descended or prolapsed frog, in which the frog is below the level of the hoof walls. In this case, our glue-on system is recommended. The glue can make up for some missing wall length, and after a few shoeing cycles, this situation will generally resolve itself. For some difficult cases involving damaged hooves, the glue-on system is a lifesaver. This hoof was suffering from abscesses, which we didn't want to cover with glue. So some properly positioned gauze and a careful glue job allowed us to glue on a shoe but leave a drainage area for the abscess. The goal is to create a thin rim pad with the glue. When complete, the layer between the hoof and the shoe should be around 1/16 of an inch, possibly up to 1/8. After gluing, leave the old tip on the glue. It becomes the cap until the next use of the glue. If you take it off, you'll just have a messy, oozy glue tube in your box, so just leave it on. We also never bother turning the valve on the tube between the closed and open positions. Once initially opened, we just leave it that way. In some cases, glue may show cracks at the heels after a week or two. This is okay. The rest of the bond is still holding the shoe in place. Always use these adhesives in an open and well-ventilated area. The two components and associated fumes should be handled with care. Once the two parts have mixed and the chemistry has done its thing, the resulting adhesive material is much safer. Methacrylates are used in human dentistry and even in internal bone procedures in the human body, and so they are reasonably safe once cured. You can smell methacrylates when they haven't set yet. This is a good thing. Polyurethane glues may be odorless, and you don't even realize when you're breathing fumes. In our system, we glue the shoe to the underside of the foot. We're actually gluing to the bottom of the hoof wall, and perhaps about a ½ inch of the outer sole area. With each trim, every bit of hoof wall and sole that the glue touched is removed as part of the normal trimming process. It's like you start fresh each time. This is in contrast to other glue-on systems that utilize a cuff that is glued to the outer hoof wall. In cuff-based systems, it may take many months for the wall, which has been covered with adhesive, to grow down. This means that the same hoof wall area is glued and re-glued in subsequent shoeings. In our experiments with these systems, the outer hoof wall quality became somewhat damaged due to repeated covering with adhesive. Our conclusion is that while a cuff-based system is fine for occasional use, we don't recommend it for long-term use. Some people have made statements that gluing the hoof to a shoe will cause contracted heels over time. But we have calibrated, measured photographs of the soles of horses that have had glue-on shoes for more than a decade, and we see no signs of contraction occurring. The people making the claim have no data whatsoever. These are two images of the same hoof taken 8 years apart. They show no contraction at the heels. Here, we've used the Metron software system to measure the width of the heels as a percentage of the widest part of the foot. This horse, in 2014, was 27 years old. Gluing, with or without nails, can be an exceptional technique when applying EponaShoes, and can result in benefits to the hoof, even over the long term.